Hi guys, so I'm here with my October reading wrap up. I'm sorry it's going up so late. Life has just been crazy lately. I've had next to no opportunity to film. I was hoping that I would be able to get this video up either Thursday or yesterday, which was Saturday, which would still have been late. But then that didn't happen. I went and stayed with a friend, and then I've been a little bit unwell, so it's just been a little bit of a nightmare, which is a shame because October was quite a good reading month for me. I felt like I got a lot read. So yeah, in October I only read one book on my Kindle, and that was Filthy Beautiful Love, and that was by Kendall Ryan. This is the sequel to Filthy Beautiful Lies, which I showed you last month, being September. I read the first book in September. I really enjoyed it. I do feel the books could have just been one book. They were both really short. They were enjoyable, sort of quick, sexy romance read. But there have been books like that I have enjoyed more. So I gave it 3 out of 5. The next book that I read was Jet by J. Crownover. This is the second book in the Marked Men series, and I kind of skipped this one. I read the first book, Rule, really enjoyed it, and then sort of somehow ended up skipping this one. And then the next book that I read was Rome, and then after that Nash, so I sort of went back and read this one. I didn't enjoy this one as much as the other ones. I feel like Aiden, while she has her reasons for sort of holding back and trying to cool things off between her and Jet, I didn't think they were sort of valid enough. I really hated her sort of back and forth approach. She just sort of irritated me. So yeah, I just didn't feel this one as much as the others. It was still an enjoyable read, and I gave this one 3 out of 5. The next book I read, I tried to read more sort of Halloween themed reads, and like it started off quite well, and then I just didn't read any more really. I don't know, I just suddenly didn't feel like reading that sort of thing. I went into sort of a mini reading slump, and yeah, but I did manage to read Messenger of Fear by Michael Grant. I thought this would have been a great read for October, and it was. Let's talk about this cover though. It's so beautiful, it's so vibrant in person, and I love the black edges. I've not read a book by Michael Grant before. I've heard amazing things from fellow YouTubers and friends about his Gone series, but because I'm not huge on dystopia, it's not one that I wanted to commit to. So when I saw this really cheap in the supermarket, I thought, you know what, I'll try this, and it was really good. I read it in just a couple of days. It's really quite dark. It does have a warning on the back that it contains scenes of cruelty and violence, and it really does. There are some scenes in this book that are really messed up, really dark, really creepy. Like I say, it read really quickly. I was hooked. It's about this girl called Mara, and she wakes up and she thinks she's dead. And then she's contacted by the Messenger of Fear, and it's almost a bit like A Christmas Carol with sort of the ghost of Christmas past sort of thing. He sort of shows her all these really sort of messed up scenarios. Like the first thing he shows her is this girl's suicide. So she ends up seeing all these dark and twisted things, and then the Messenger of Fear basically offers a challenge to these people, saying they can play the game and win their freedom, or if they don't, something bad happens to them. It was really dark, really twisted. I was a little bit confused about sort of the setting of it. In some cases I didn't really know where they were. It's hard to explain, but I really enjoyed it. There was a really sort of big twist at the end, which I did see coming, but only sort of 10 pages before it actually happened. But it was really, really good, and recommend this one. I gave it 4 out of 5, before I forget. 4 out of 5. The next book that I read was the buddy read between myself and Lee from Books Know Best and Ryan from Ryan Reads Books. We decided we'd try and read sort of a Halloween themed read together, and we decided on Splintered by A.G. Howard. I have done a review for this. It was the last video I uploaded, so if you want to know my thoughts on it, check that out. It was okay for me. It wasn't anything special. I was a little bit disappointed by it, considering that you have the world of Wonderland to play with. I just feel like I expected a lot more from it than what I got. I do love that the text in the book is actually purple. I really, really like that. But yeah, check out my review for more in-depth thoughts on that. I gave it 3 out of 5. Actually, I was kind of torn with that one between 2.5 and 3 out of 5, so it's sort of on the fence with that one. And the next book that I read, I was so proud of myself for reading this in October. I can't even begin to tell you guys. I read Cross Stitch by Diana Gabaldon. This behemoth of a book I read. It's like 870 pages long. I really did think that reading this would put me like really, really far behind on my reading challenge. It didn't really. It only took me a week to read, which I was really, really pleasantly surprised about, but I absolutely just loved this book. I will understand why some people, it's not for some people, I will totally understand that, but I just absolutely loved it. It's about this woman called Claire Randall. She is basically honeymooning with her husband in Scotland after the war. Sort of the war interrupted their honeymoon, so they're basically now having their honeymoon a few years later, and she somehow manages to travel back in time into 1700s Scotland. It was so good, and I would have said this in like a haul and a Friday Reads video that I didn't want to read this. I didn't want to watch the show, and then after I read this I started watching the show. Oh my god, like this whole sort of series and concept is taking over my life. I'm just in love right now. The next book that I read was a quick one. It was the Vampire Academy graphic novel. Really enjoyed this. It's really, really simple, really, really basic, and I just wanted to recap the first book. I do feel like it's a little bit jumpy. It's definitely aimed at people that have already read the book. I feel like it's scene jumps really quickly, and unless you have read the book, I feel like you'll get lost in it, basically. And then that was when I was sort of going through my slump. I didn't know what I wanted to read, and when I don't know what I want to read, I turn to Regency romance. So I read 2 books by Lisa Kleypas. I read Lady Sophia's Lover, and this is book 2 in her Bow Street series, and then I loved this one so much that I wanted to read book 3, which is Worth Any Price. I loved this one. One of my favourite Regency romances now that I have ever read. I really, really loved it. I gave this one 5 out of 5. And then this one wasn't quite as good, but I still enjoyed it. I gave this one 3.5 out of 5, but enjoyed those. And then the last book that I read in October was Opposition. Oh god, I can't even say it. Opposition. The final book in the Lux series by Jennifer L. Armentrout. I've been putting off this one because it's the end of a series that I absolutely love, and I wasn't emotionally prepared for it to end. It was a good ending to the series. I kind of expected more from it, considering how much I love the Lux series. I didn't feel this ended in the best way it could have, but it was Jennifer L. Armentrout, so it was still amazing. And then I also read the prequel novella in the back, which is Shadows, and that is about Beth and Dawson. It's their story, how they met, and I really, really enjoyed that. I'm definitely glad that we had that, and I'm glad I read it at the end. You definitely have to read it after at least reading a couple of the books. I gave Opposition 4 out of 5, and I gave Shadows 4 out of 5. So that was everything that I read in September, guys. Have you read any of these? Have you enjoyed any of these? Wanted to read any of these? Let me know in the comments down below, and hopefully I will see you guys soon. Happy reading!